Hello and welcome back to another episode of the SuperCoach Corner podcast, where today we look forward to round four and review all the games ahead, all the captaincy choices, trade in, trade out, and we answer the questions from you guys as well. And joining me, as always, is Tice. Tice, another big week, some more carnage, more must trade out sort of guys. So we'll get into it all. But how are you sitting? How you feeling?
I, as much as the carnage, it's so frustrating to try and get right. I enjoy it. It's what makes Supercoach. It's these are the points where you really are defined going in throughout the year. So, I enjoy a little bit of carnage from here and there.
Yeah, I enjoy a little bit as well, but I think it's starting to become a little bit of a joke. How many different things are being thrown at us at the moment? But look, honestly, we're both not even Sherry owners as well, so it could be a lot worse.
Mm.
So we've managed to dodge that bullet. But yeah, so like I said, that's the agenda for today. First, before we get into all of that, just a shout out to our socials as well. So we have lots of content going out there. Posted a comparison between a couple of players that we'll talk about today, and Ned Reeves and Jack Lukosius on our socials. More of an in-depth analysis into that. So if you want to have a read of that, go onto our socials there. Give us a follow. Tice, when we last recorded for the review, we hadn't got our ranks yet. So what are you currently ranked at the moment?
I'm sitting at 24,600, which is okay because I've had a lot of players missing over the last two buys. So heading into this week, I'm feeling pretty confident. I think my team's stacking up all right for post buys as well. So I feel like, it's a big change. Like a big score, you jump up a lot at the start, especially with all the early buy rounds. So I wouldn't look too heavily into the ranks just yet, but sitting in the top 14% at the moment. So what about you?
Yeah, I agree. Don't unless you're like sitting really nice and you started off well. There's pretty easy to make up ground, especially next week once it becomes best 22 again. You can sort of get bigger gaps in your opponents and start to make ground a little bit faster. So I wouldn't stress too much. I'm at 36,000, so hence why I've said that. I'm just telling myself that every day, but
Well,
yeah, a bit of
you
catching up to
say
do.
you say you say 36,000. My total score is 5,926. What's yours?
5,871. So what's that, like 55
There's
points?
that's 55 points, and there's 12,000 ranks between us.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah, exactly. It shows how quickly you can climb the ranks, especially this time of year. Um, so yeah, like I said, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position. Hopefully, this week nail a couple of trades, and I'll be sitting pretty, which would be good. Um, Shout out to our limited league, Tice. We had a few big scores there on the weekend. So the top score on the weekend was from Barry, who was the coach of Owl. He scored 2058, which is massive. Going over 2,000 in a buy round is huge. And then speaking of guys who have started off really well, there's six guys already ranked inside the top 1,000 in that league. So Paul, the coach of Game Throwy, he is at 189. Oreno is at 335. Nagia, sorry if I butchered that, he's ranked at 575. Equaling him is Mark, coach of Kazali. He is at 575 as well. Jackson and Tanner, coaches of Squid Squad and Tanner's Ruse, are also tied at 717th. So it's a lot of boys who have started the season very well, Tice. Better than both of us, but fingers crossed we can catch them down in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that'll be definitely the plan. But yeah, there's actually 10 all up in the top 1K. That was just the top five. So
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
that's
boys, who
that's
I
actually
didn't shout out.
there's actually a lot in there, which is good to see. Das, I don't think we need to blabber on for too much longer. Let's get straight into a few injuries that have come out. The injury report has sort of come out since we did our review podcast. And I think a huge one that hurts a lot of coaches is Milan Murdoch has now got a time frame, and it's 3 weeks from now, which is a total 4 week injury. So it's definitely a lot more on the moderate to severe side of a hamstring rather than the minor that they were saying, which they were, thinking 2 to 3. It's now 4 week all up. So
Yeah,
yeah, 3 from now. I think it's just the fact that he's a rookie. He just sits on your bench, wouldn't you say?
yeah, you can cover for him. We've been actually, I was thinking about it yesterday, like in the preseason, we were scrambling for mid rookies. Like we thought we had nothing, and now I feel like we're you just a struggle to get the good guys on field at this point. Like I had to bench Myers on the weekend. Like there's good rookies to cover for him. So yeah, he started so well. There's no point training him back yet. Training him out because you just have to train him back in. So hold him for now, and fingers crossed he can maybe shave a week off that and come back a week early. A couple other injury news from the injury report. Tice McCluggage is still a week away at least. So it's just not gaining much ground on that calf injury. So fingers crossed he comes back next week. I think they got North next week. So for Lockie Neal owners like myself, hopefully he comes back. Foss goes straight to him, and Neal can get some reprieve. Would be nice. Jordan Dawson is a test for this weekend. All reports saying that he should return from that calf injury. So fingers crossed he comes back. Matt Rowell also a test. So Gold Coast kept saying that they were just going to monitor him until after the bye. Got his finger cast off during the week, or last week I think it was, and apparently is hit the ground running. So it looks really good. He'll be a test this week. So he'll either play or you'd likely say play next week. So one to keep an eye on. We know how good he was in SuperCoach last year. And also on the next guy I'll talk about is track Tice. So that's cut down now to 1 to 3 weeks. I'm interested to see. So by the time track's back, you'd expect Rao to be back as well. I'm interested to see how those two fit together and how that midfield mix will sort of shape up.
Yeah. If track's back, I'm definitely on the side of I'm going to wait to see how it affects how it affects Petrarca's role that we saw before. Real is back, and with Real coming back maybe this week or next week, I'm happy to watch 1 or 2 games, and if it means I have to then pay up for Petrarca, knowing that he's going to be that genuine midfielder, I'm happy to wait on that. Saying that it's very slim pickings in the forward line, so as I'm saying it, I'm kind of contradicting myself in terms of he's definitely going to be a top 10 forward. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to play on your mind at all there, Das. But yeah, are you waiting to see Petrarca?
Yeah, I'm in the exact same boat. I think it's sort of a blessing. I'm sure he'll be fine, and he'll still be a guy we need to get in. We've also been blessed a little. He's got that 80 in his system, right? So, like, even if he comes back and dominates straight away, he's not going to go up too much in cash. It's that 80 will sort of weigh him down a little bit. So he'll still be within reach, for the next couple of weeks once he returns. So, I mean, I'm hoping it's closer to 3 weeks. So if he's gone for like one game, not even one game. If he's gone for one game and we've all traded him, that would hurt. I think they'll be a bit cautious with him. It's the start of the year. They've started really well. They're obviously going to go deep into September. So why would they risk one of their stars early on? Deb Robinson, Tice, 1 week suspension for that sling tackle on Butters. It's disappointing. He didn't have a great game himself and copped himself a week, but not much we can do. Again, it's a hold. The forward line's looking pretty grim. With Todd Marshall also confirmed 1 to 2 more weeks as well. So that's another rookie that most of us have. Who again, I'm just sitting in a hold for Marshall, Tice. I don't know if you're on the same boat, but that's just another guy. And then with Philippou and Flanders, who most people have as well. That's probably 4 forwards that a lot of people have on not playing this week.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but thank God it's best 18 for that sense. With Todd Marshall, I think the news it's out as 1 to 2 weeks, but the coaches come out and said, "Oh, we're hoping he's back to full training next week, and then playing the week after." I don't know if you caught that terminology,
Yeah, I did say that.
but that sounds like to me it's 2 weeks at a minimum. So it might be a little bit more hurtful than we think, but like we were saying, with a rookie, it's not too bad to hold him for maybe that 1 to 2 weeks. Murdoch 3 weeks. That's all right. We've got coverage there. Yes, it might stunt the cash generation a little bit, but everyone's sort of in the same boat. And then you're not wasting 2 trades to get him out and then get him back in because he's going to be a must-have rookie to have. So I think I'm still firmly in the hold for Marshall after hearing that news. His teammate Miles Bergman is a test for this week. Not too Supercoach relevant to start the Supercoach year, but he's started very slow as well. If that role changes with Connor Rozee now out and he's going then into a full-time midfield, I really like this pick, and he's going to only drop in cash, so keep an eye on Bergman
Yeah, I was just going to say,
as the season goes on.
if he is playing and he does go straight in the midfield, like it was talked about in the preseason, does that affect the Watkins? If Burpin comes back, if Wine comes back, could it affect a Watkins, a Brody, that sort of thing? So, if he's playing, it could have implications. Hasn't played much midfield this year, so I doubt it will. And if he's coming back from injury, they'll probably ease him through the halfback like they have done. But keep an eye on that one. Isaac Heaney is also a test, so had a bit of hamstring awareness. Missed the game before the bye. Obviously had the bye and is a test for this game. So, hopefully he gets up. I still see him being a top midfielder for the year, Tice. I know you're probably in the same boat. We're both pretty hot on Heaney. So, a nice matchup in West Coast this week, who are playing pretty good footy as well. So, let's see how he goes. And the last one to touch on is Tristan Xerri. Obviously, I think when we recorded, we weren't sure of the suspension. Now, obviously, it's been confirmed as 3 weeks, which sort of brings us to our next segment, Tice, which is our trade out. So guys that we can jump on, jump off. Are we staying? Are we holding? Tristan Xerri tops the list. I'm pretty set on trading out Xerri if you have him.
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of people possibly holding and trading around him, but I don't like it in the fact that he's 680k. That's a lot of money to have sitting on your bench. Yes, he's not coming back from an injury or anything like that, but he then loses that dream run that was heavily documented through the start of the season. So he misses Carlton, which is just Pitnet, Brisbane, Darcy Fortin, Draper, Richmond, who don't even have a ruckman at the moment. He misses all those really good, juicy matchup games. Comes back to GWS and Geelong, which is still nice. But then he's got Sydney, Adelaide are known to kill a few rucks. Jared Witts is there. Then he's got the round 12 bye as well. Round 12 bye is pretty heavy. So I'm definitely on the trade Tristan Xerri train. Whether you want to restructure and go to a ruckman, and go to a midfielder like the Bont, because he's only maybe 20k more. It just sort of depends how you have McAndrew sitting, I think. You don't want to be going Xerri down and having no premium ruckman, because the ruckman are still scoring pretty well this year. So if he's your only premium ruckman, you're definitely sideways to another ruckman. If he's your R2 and McAndrew's in the flex, you can play around a little bit there. You could afford to wait a bit and put McAndrew at R2, get anyone in your flex. But if you're running a triple ruck setup and McAndrew's your R3, this is your chance to jump off one of them and have McAndrew on field in your flex and, go to someone else in your midfield or something like that. Would you be the same there?
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree more. I think if you've got the ruck coverage and you've got another primo there and you can put McAndrew at R2 and you've got cover for R3, I think I'd definitely be looking at someone like Bont. Like, see if you can use a little bit of flexibility there and bring in a big dog, like a big dog for a big dog. That would be my number one. But if you can't, and he is your R1, you've already got McAndrew at R2, then obviously you have to go to another ruck. If that's the case, who would be your best option if you were trading out Xerri? You needed a ruck. Who would you be targeting?
I still really, really like Grundy. So I'm probably a big Grundy advocate. Now that he's off his early bye, I think Grundy's still going to be the number one ruck come season end.
Yep.
Gawn has started the year on fire, so you can't go past Gawn. So he wouldn't be a bad trade in. Jackson, I still don't know what role he's going to have moving forward.
I don't mind
So I'm still not sold on Jackson. I wouldn't be jumping off him if you do have him by any means. I'm not saying jump off him, but I probably wouldn't jump on him just yet. Maybe wait and see how the full ruck's set out. But yeah, if you don't have Tim English is another good option. He started the year really well, being very consistent. So you have a plethora of picks. I'd almost go, if you have the one premium ruck already that you're definitely sold on, I'd almost go based on the mid-season buys. If you think you're going to have two ruckmen playing the same mid-season buy, maybe that could sway your opinion in terms of going a Gawn or a English, or however the mid-season buy sits out for you. So that could be another way to look at it if you're toing and froing between two ruckmen. But at the moment, I'd be Grundy.
Yeah, I think it'd be Grundy. I like the sort of point of difference side of Grundy as well, which is nice. And then Gorn is just, I just love Gorn. I still think he's super safe. He'll be a top liner come the end of the year. He's shown that, and he's just carrying Melbourne over the line in multiple games. So, yeah, it's hard to go wrong with any of those guys. I think Jackson, like you said, I'm not 100% sold, but the rest, I think, sort of take your pick. If you wanted that extra bit of cash, you want to go to English, I wouldn't blame you either. But moving on from Sherry Tice, Dyson Sharp, a lot of people jumped off last week when he was a late out. Murmazali should be good to go. So he was a test for last week, just failed at the final hurdle. I've seen that, yeah, it is rumored that he comes back in. Fingers crossed for people who have held. If you've held this far, is it just you just hold again if he's named?
Yeah, well, they want to get games into him. So I do see them possibly bringing him back in. But if he's not named and deemed fit because he was a laid out last week, so he should be fine this week, then maybe it is still time to jump off him because then you don't know when he's coming back because they've got Farrow in the side and a few other players that maybe they want to get more games into as well, and maybe have Sharp do some time in the VFL. So I think it all comes down to selection this week.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think if he's playing, you just hold him and hope that he can show his talent at some capacity on the weekend. But if he's not named, yeah, I wouldn't be against moving him on. I'm an owner at the moment, so I didn't move him on last week. So he's not in my train plans at the moment, but if he's not named, he'll come into it very quickly. Milan Murdoch, we touched on. We're both in the hold category. Fingers crossed, the 3 weeks turns into 2, but even if it's 3, just hold him. We know how much cash he's going to make when he comes back. Don't waste 2 trades on a 99k rookie. You're getting nothing out of that sideways, so hold him. Leo Lombard, Tice, is a pretty interesting one. I think similar to Sharp in the fact that if he's not named, so a lot of rumours, has Jake Rogers sort of overtaken that spot. I think my gut feel says that with Humphrey out for 2 weeks, does that sort of buy him a little bit more time? I think it does. Um, Again, I think it's similar to Sharp. If he's playing, just I'm in the hold category. Just let him hopefully pump out a couple of 60s and kickstart that cash gen again. But if he's dropped, I wouldn't be against moving him on. He didn't show much in that game against Richmond.
Yeah, I think his job security is a bit safer than what other people think as well. Just due to the fact they have to make a change with Petrarca. Like, Petrarca did actually play the last game that they played, and Humphrey getting that suspension. So that's already 2 changes that they have to force in that midfield. I don't even hate the chance of Lombard getting run through that midfield. He was drafted as a midfielder. I don't see why they couldn't just maybe even throw him in there. So they're going to persist with him in my eyes. If he does get dropped, yes, yeah, he could easily be moved on because then he'll go back to the VFL and who knows when he's going to come back into that side. So I just do think he will actually get selected.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think he will as well. The force changes help him in this case. Jack Carroll, Tice, he's made a bit of cash, a couple of price rises. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about his job security to start the year. He's on the buy now. Could this be a good time just to cash in the cash that he's made? You don't have to stress about him at team selection every week and maybe jump onto a guy that might make you a bit more money a bit quicker.
Yeah, I definitely really like that. You're not sure if he's going to get a game next week, and there's a few nice cash generating options this week if you need to jump back on Josh Lindsay. He's the easiest selection there, so I really do like that, especially with how he was playing in that last game. Jack Carroll, that is. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get selected. But another guy that a lot of people are trading out are Parrish. I'm going to bundle these 2 together, both from Essendon, Parrish and Blackiston. It just seems like they're both deemed failed mid prices, wouldn't you say? And it's just easier to jump off them.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've had their chance. And if you can move them on, move them on. It's sort of hard. We don't have heaps to go down to, so I don't think, especially in defence, unless you don't have Josh Lindsay. So if you have cash to go up, I think that's definitely the play. Or you can chase one of the rookies or cash generating guys that we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I think they're both failed picks, and they're not going to make us cash. They're not going to be keepers. So if you don't have too many forced changes that you need to make, I'd be more than happy to move both of those on. We're both Blackiston owners. I think I might even hold him. I don't know, just because I can't find an option in the back line that I like at the moment. But look, he's scored 60 pretty much every game he's played, so I don't think I'm losing anything by holding one more week. But he's been a hard own.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He's definitely been a hard own, pumping out just 60s for us. So, Parrish, I don't hate the hold on. He did some decent scores to start the year, and then pumped out at that 67 last week, which does stunt his cash generation, which is kind of what he was there for, as well as a bit of points on field. But the 80s and 90 that we saw in the first couple of weeks is what I'd expect more so from him in that role. So,
The thing
I
with
think
Parrish
just
is
use.
well, sorry,
Sorry,
I
you
was
go.
just he scored 45, I think it was, in the first quarter of the season against Hawthorn. Like dominated that first quarter, and everyone's like, "Yeah, he's back." Like that's Parrish, and then just hasn't impacted the game since. Like so, 45, and then he went and scored. I think it was 92 or something in round one. So 50 points for the rest of the game, and then scores 60s in the next two games or whatever it was. So yeah, barring that first quarter, I don't think he's really given much. I think the game is not like the game it was when he was very dominant. So I think he's. I mean, if I was an owner, I think he sits in a similar. I think he sits in a very similar boat to Blackstone. Like it doesn't hurt you to hold him for another week. He's not going to go and drop a 20 on you and lose you a whole bunch of cash. But I think can be classified as a failed pick now. It's not going to do what you want it to do, and you can move it on to someone else.
Yeah, and if you're going Blackstone down to a rookie, it frees up a lot of cash. I'd say move on Parrish as soon as you have the cash to get to the guy that you want to get to. And Blackstone down and Parrish up is literally going to do that for you. So if you have both, yeah, or if you jumped off Blackstone last week, well done. But yeah, as soon as you have that cash on Parrish, you may as well do it because that's what he's there to do for your side. Connor Buderick, Das, I've seen a lot of people actually trade him out. I like holding, especially because you held through the bye. And look, the forward line is actually getting a few good rookies in there, but it's definitely slim in terms of the top end. And Buderick is scoring probably a top 20 forward at the moment. So I quite like the hold on Connor Buderick. I know you're in the same boat as well. Just see how it plays out. If Bailey Dale starts taking more points off him, maybe we can then look to move him on. And the last one we might touch on is Joe Fonte. Now on the bye, a lot of people bought him as a 2-week cash play, and he's still scoring very well. I think you could easily hold him through the bye and keep him for a while, but same thing can be said about the Parrish play, is that if he gets you up to that top line defender, then it's probably an easy time to move him on, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he's done what you want him to do. He will provide good points on field if you hold him, and might make you an extra 15, 20k with his 80s he's pumping out. But he's definitely made you that quick cash. If you can get him up to a top line premium, a Jordan Clark or someone of that ilk, or you can use a bit of DPP and bring in a midfielder or something like that. I think I'd definitely be putting the cash in his head, but wouldn't be against holding him if you're pretty set for players this week as well. You can field 20, 21, 22, that sort of thing, and hold him. I think it's pretty safe to do so. But that sort of sums up the trade out option types. We'll go to the rookie. So let's say you want to trade out one of those guys. You want to go down, bank a bit of cash, look for a couple of guys to make you some money over the next few weeks. We'll start with a popular one, Tice, but one that has a big asterisk there. Oscar Steen looked really good on debut last week for Collingwood. Rock Ford, which is really, really good DPP, 119k. I think he scored 83, but it was his first game, so he's not in the bubble. He won't go up price this week. I'm firmly in the boat of just wait. Okay,
Yeah.
he had a really, really good game. We hope he can replicate that, but we're not sure that he can. So hold, see how he goes on Thursday night, and then bring him in next week.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Definitely a wait and see on that one. Don't jump the gun on going early on a rookie. I think Milan Murdoch has been the greatest advocate for that going early on him. As much as he was going to be a great cash generator for us, you never know when an injury could be around the corner, and it saves you there. Next on the list we'll talk about is Jack Lukosius at 242k, the higher price tag here. Started the season with a 110 and then backed it up with a 95, both against Essendon and West Coast. Probably some of the lesser sides, even though West Coast are travelling pretty well. And then he's got Richmond this week. I think, like, with a negative 62 break even, and now with a very favourable matchup, this should be a really good cash injection for us, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I really like it. We know his talent, right? He's a number 2 draft pick, and he's shown to start the year that he's in really good form. It would be touch and go for me if it wasn't for this Richmond matchup. Like, let's say he goes and scores 100 this week, which I don't think is out of the equation considering how he started the year, and the matchup that he's got. Yeah, he just scores a couple of 70s and he'll make you some cash. So a negative 62 break even is so low. And for someone at that price, we know what he can pump out. He went back last week as well with a couple of injuries, so he's got that string to his bow, which really sort of lifts his floor a little bit. And with the injuries, they've got no Radiclea, no Todd Marshall. Could he go back there more? Potentially. I like it. If I could go Blackstone to him, I would. I just can't make it work DPP-wise. But I really like the pick. I think there's definitely cash to be made. And where there seems to be a few slow burns, circling about on our teams, I think he's someone that can make you cash quickly and sort of give you a little bit of a leg up on a few guys in the competition.
Yeah, I think if he scores a 90, he's going to go up, 60, maybe even 70k in 1 week, which is huge. And then he's got that 90 and a 95 as he's rolling. I know we're speculating a 90 from a guy that's cost 242k. So, yeah, but it's very much a chance that he could do that. And then he just needs to pump out like a 65 or even a 70 the week after. And that's almost 100k already. So it could even just be a 2 week play, depending on the score that he gets this week. So I'm pretty sold on this Lukosius pick at the moment. So, yeah, we know he's a great talent, and he just hasn't really put it out there too much for the world to see. So I'm going to back him in, I think.
Yeah, I like it. And if you are following our socials and you saw a post today, a guy who's in a pretty similar vein of form and a very similar price in Ned Reeves, a very different position, but I think also 242k, similar start to his year. He went 105 and then an 84, I believe it was. Break even of negative 48. Similar boat, but I think we're both like Lukosius more than Reeves.
Yes, yeah, definitely Lukosius more than Reeves.
Yeah. Would you entertain the idea of going Sherry down to Reeves, try and chase a bit of cash there, and then use that money elsewhere, or it's just too risky?
It's probably like, I don't hate it, but it's too risky just due to the fact he's playing like less than 50% time on ground at the moment. Like, people might say, oh, the 50% time on ground and he's scoring 80s and 100s. Yeah, that's great and all, but and like if he does that in a full game, I think it's just he's getting a nice rest and he can come out a bit better. But it could easily be flipped the other way. 50% time on ground, he scores a 30 because he's just not on the ground enough to be around the ball. So that's the part that scares me. If he is, I'll put it this way: if Meek is somehow dropped and Reeves is the main ruck, Reeves is now above Lukosius for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't see it happening, but
Neither.
the time on ground's a big issue, and it's not going to change with Lou Meek and the team. Like they're ruck sharing, and Reeves can't really play anywhere else. So there's always going to be that flaw because of the fact that he only plays half a game. So I wouldn't be jumping there too quickly. Lincoln McCarthy ties is one that we're both pretty keen on. I think that the run that Brisbane have is really enticing, and for a forward, could he capitalise that, score some big scores against some poorer teams? They got Collingwood this week, which can be a bit of a tougher matchup, but then North Melbourne, Adelaide, who are tough, but then Essendon and Carlton after that. So a couple 80s and 90s there. could really, a couple spike scores could really kickstart that cash generation. He's 170k forward only. He's got a break even of -14 and scored 69 last round. So I don't mind it. The elevated price is a little bit hard. I think I would just rather go, 60k on his head and go to Lukosius.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat now that I look more into it. At the start of the week, I was probably more McCarthy over Lukosius, just for being in a better side. I just love the fact that he's a kind of a high half forward in a premiership contending side. So the ball's down in that forward line a lot. Like you said, that run upcoming is just amazing. And he only needs to average 55 or so to make 100k, which is why I do like that. And one spike score, and that just skyrockets. We saw that from Kai Lohman a couple of years ago. So I don't see why McCarthy couldn't do that as well. It's just the age of the body as well. He's always injured. It's his first couple of games since the start of 2024. So, yeah, he's been nearly 2 years out of the game. So, he's definitely going to find his way back into it. But does that mean he could easily be back out? I'm not sure. So, there's probably too many question marks compared to Lukosius.
Yeah, it could be one. I'm not convinced enough to go there at that price, but it could well be one in 4 or 5 weeks' time. We go, why didn't we go McCarthy? I can definitely see that happening. But yeah, I'm just not sold enough. There's enough question marks for me to look the other way. Josh Lindsay, I think it's fair to say Tice is just the number one rookie option this week. If you don't have him and he's named, just jump on him. He looked really good in that game on Sunday. Slow down that last quarter, but that'll happen for a guy playing his second game. So took a few kickouts as well. He's got a really good role and looks really clean at AFL level. So yeah, and don't be afraid if you trade him out a couple of weeks ago, like somebody to my left or right or wherever we're sitting right now. Don't just swallow your pride and bring him back in, because you're gonna be trading someone in anyway. So why does it matter if it's him? He's the best option to trade into. Sherry Tice, 99k rookie Frio, looked really good in his first game last week. Scored 70. He's got the mid forward DPP, which looked really good, and someone that I was watching heavily on Saturday against Richmond, but conditions just didn't really suit him in that cyclone conditions over there, and scored, I think it was in the 30s somewhere. So, if he keeps his spot, the floor's pretty low. I'm not super sold on it. I think there's better options.
Yeah, there's probably better options, but what I saw in that first game when it was that dry weather, really did sell me in the fact that he's going to be a good player and going to be a nice cash generator moving forward. So I think the 31 is going to scare a lot of people off, but if you're still somehow sold on what you saw in that round one, like I am, you could easily jump on. I'm not jumping on him though, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of contradicting what I'm saying, because that 31 does hurt to have in the price cycle for the next few weeks. So, might be one
the
that
job security,
we just have to look past.
The job security is probably just not strong enough to carry that 31. Like with the 31 year system, he's gonna need 5 weeks to get it out and then start making good cash again. So does he have 5 weeks? And he'd have to play some good footy, because they got the likes of like Hayden Young coming back. Does that sort of impact where he's playing? Does Bolton go back forward and then he's out straight away? So it's too many question marks for me. Then a few guys, Tice, who have already gone up in price, but could you go late on them? I'll start with I'll start with the best scorer of the lot, in Willem Dersma. He started his career really, really well. Number one draft pick, obviously. He scored 104 on the weekend, I believe, and is now gone up to 270k. Is it too late there?
Yeah, it's too late. North and Port were the last 2 games, so there were definitely more favourable matchups. He's got Sydney, Geelong, and Freo in his next 3. On a wing, I think he's just gonna put out some poorer scores. You've missed the boat. If you jumped on him last week, well done, but you've missed the boat. Don't jump on at 270.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's a slight frightened wingman. He's had good games against poor oppositions, but I think they'll start to drop a little bit more. But what about Braden Cook, Tice? He's now sitting at 220k after scoring 80 last week. He's still got a break even of -12. I also feel like this is too late. I wouldn't be paying 220k for Braden Cook.
Yeah, neither. He's definitely just playing as a winger, doing it well, and looks like he belongs at AFL level. But you just never know when that poor game's going to be coming. So he's probably an avoid. What about another guy that has had a price rise already here, Das? In Jack Watkins, I think you have missed. I think you missed him last week. Had a nice 57k price rise, but he's still only at 156k. Are you going to look there with the Richmond matchup this week?
Yeah, I don't mind this one. It'd be very much team dependent. I don't think it's too late on Watkins. I think the best thing for if Wines gets named, and Bergman gets named, and maybe Brody gets dropped, and he still keeps his spot, I think that's huge. Like green flags, and you could jump on there. So, and that might like disprove any job security issues that people might have with him. So yeah, I don't think it's too late. I think he's one of the better options this week. Probably Lindsay is one. Um, and then it could even be him in terms of like cheap rookie priced options. I'd rather go Lukosius, but if you're looking for like to make cash by going down to someone, I definitely wouldn't be against going to Watkins. I think he's still got cash to be made, and he's shown, especially in that first half on Sunday, that there is scoring potential there. Like he can play at the level. So I wouldn't be against that, Tice. So we've gone through the trainer options. We've gone through the rookies. What about some of the big dogs that we can look at targeting? So I think the biggest question, and probably the biggest thing that I'm going through with myself this year or this week, sorry, is to bond or not to bond. Is it silly to go and spend that much money on? Like I didn't start him because I didn't want to spend that much money on him, but now, 4 weeks in, I've been scared off by a couple of big scores, and now I want to spend the money on him. I think I'm leaning to not. I don't think I'm going there, but it just feels like if I'm not going to get him now, when am I going to get him?
I think there's a few sides to this in terms of you can go the Bont and just say, I screwed up, I missed the Bont, I should have just started him. And you're only paying 3k extra on his starting price, which is not much at all. And he's got the Essendon matchup this week, which is just even juicier. That's a straight captain score. So, yes, he's just going to go up this week. But that 160 rolls out of his cycle. Depending how big he goes this week, he then drop after that. You don't know. You don't know with this guy. Like, he's just that good of a player that you don't know when he's actually going to come down. It might burn you going forward, but you didn't start him because he's too much money, so you could spend cash elsewhere. So I think you almost need to just back in your system and use that, and just back in your players that you split the Bont money into. If you went to an Ed Richards instead, you've got 100k on another guy that you got up to a mid price. I know the mid prices haven't been good, but that's kind of what I did. For example, like I went Richards and it gave me enough to go up to Lawler, and Lawler's been good. So you need to look at it from both directions, but the rookies this year have been scoring just as well as a lot of the mid prices that everyone started. So have you already punted off all your mid prices that you then need to go and grab the Bont and a rookie? It's really interesting how all coaches are going to play it. I'm going to wait on the Bont. I think I didn't start him so that I could put my cash elsewhere, and I'm just going to back in my other players to try and get it done for me. But the juicy matchup this week is the only thing that's tempting me.
Yeah, I am in the same boat. I think I will probably fade him this week, not bring him in, and it will be met with a whole bunch of hurt come Sunday afternoon. But who knows? Maybe I'll just turn off my phone, spend some quality time with the family, and just forget it ever happened. And then I'll switch back on Monday morning, and I can deal with the pain then. But yeah, I think that's the way that I'll go. Gorn and English are popular trading options this week, Tice. We've touched on them, both good options to go for if you're going a like-for-like replacement for Tristan Sherry. Nick Dacos, also a great option. If you haven't got him, I think find a way to get him. If you don't have him and Bond, I'd definitely be going for Dacos. Get the cash and use that cash elsewhere. I think it's fair to say that they're big dogs, both big dogs. Just go for the cheaper one. One that I'm really interested to talk to you about is Shai Bolton. We've been very different with our views on Bolton this year. Do you think, obviously, if he keeps this role and keeps playing the way he is, he's going to be a top line forward, but would you be buying into it now?
No, I can't buy into it yet. I'm gonna now wait until Hayden Young is fit. But now with what came out this week on Hayden Young possibly playing different positions, um, when he comes in, they might ease him into it. And the fact that Bolton is playing well through that midfield, he could easily keep his spot in there, moving forward. And yeah, he's scoring very well, doing that. And we're very slim in the forward line. Yeah, there might be some DPP coming up, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But I think Bolton is still a top 10 forward. I know you're not a huge fan of it, so you're not backing it in?
No, I don't. I just think the floor's way too low, and all he needs is to go play a little bit of forward time, and that goes down. His scoring goes down again. Like, yeah, he scored really well the last couple of weeks, but he played Melbourne and he played Richmond, so they weren't the easiest of matchups. And like you said, when Young gets fully fit, like you don't want to be training. Like if he gets fully fit and Bolton goes back forward, you're just gonna be trading out Bolton anyway. I don't really want to be trading into a guy that I'm probably going to trade out later in the year anyway. So yeah, it's not for me
Saying
unless
that,
I'm fully convinced.
saying that, Adelaide are not accountable for other midfielders who they're facing this week.
Yeah,
Collingwood aren't too accountable either. They might throw a tag somewhere, but it's not going to Bolton. And then he's got West Coast and Carlton. They're not accountable either. Like, the next four actually are great matchups for the midfield. And if Hayden Young comes back after that, I mean, Shea Bolton's probably already shown how good he is in a midfield role, and then he probably stays in there. I don't know. We're just speculating at this
yeah.
point, but
I think he's a gun midfielder and he should stay in there. I just think it's so easier for JL just to put him back forward and back in the guys that don't really have that other string to their bow that Bolton does. So um, yeah, it's float with so much danger. Um I'm too scared at this point, but I could be convinced otherwise if I get more data points to go off. So I'll keep watching him and see how we go moving forward. And if the floor's the floor's high enough as a midfielder, it might be worth buying into. Um, the the Geelong duo ties, the Bounce brothers in Max Holmes and Bailey Smith, I think are both really good buys. I mean, Bailey's pretty expensive, but he showed his ceiling last week. I love Holmes. I think he's a really good buy. And like, if I had brought him in last week, but if I didn't have him and I'd rather go to him over Bond and just save the 100k. That's just how I feel. And that's sort of how I've always played Supercoach. So, um, yeah, I'd rather save the cash there. So I think they're both good options.
yeah, I think I know the answer to this one. But if Bailey Smith and Max Holmes are the same price, who are you picking?
I think Holmes. I just have a bit of a soft spot for Holmes. I think he's a really, really good player. And the thing with Holmes is I still think he hasn't like quite reached what he can do yet, right? He shows so much. I still think he has another year to go. Whereas I think we've gotten the best from Bailey Smith, and albeit it's been really good. Like he was a top five, um, like Supercoach player last year. But yeah, I still think Holmes has another year to go to, and I think this year could be the year. So I'd be buying into Holmes if they were the same price. But I know you're a Bounce man.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Bailey Smith. I just think that he's such a super coach friendly role and the way he plays, and it's just a given. And I almost think that 629k is kind of unders with how we've seen him play, and I'm very tempted to try and jump on him in the next couple of weeks. As a massive point of difference as well. So only in 4% of the sides, which is just astounding to me. So yeah, he's definitely one I'm going to target. Tom Stewart, another Cats guy, has started so well this year as a defender, looking like he might even be at that top of the line in terms of the defending scoring. Just yeah, looks like he's back to his best. I don't know. We're pretty slim in terms of the top standout defenders. I know you like Tom Stewart, but I can't go there just yet. I've been burnt by him too many times. What about Josh Dacos though? I know you're a massive Collingwood man and love Josh Dacos. You had him last year. Did you think you might have gone a year too early? Because he started this year pretty well.
Yeah, he has started this year pretty well. I'd be more inclined and I'd look there heavier if I didn't have Nick and Houston. I just don't want all three of them. So if I didn't buy into Houston last week, then yeah, maybe. I think his floor is really high. He showed his ceiling last year, so and we just want the ball in his hands. He's such a good user, so I really like the Jacobs pick. It's a good left field option. He's still priced pretty nicely. I think him as a top 8 defender is pretty locked. So I think it's a pretty safe pick. Stewart's obviously got the body issues, the body concerns. So I'd rather go with someone like a Josh Dacos over him. If you're not concerned about doubling up on those kind of players like I mentioned. Luke Jackson we touched on. We think there's probably better ruck options, but I don't discount how big he can go. Cozzy Pickett, I still think he's going to be a top line forward, Tyson. He showed that in the weekend. We know like he can be pretty. He can tread water a little bit in terms of his SuperCoach scores. He might drop a couple of 80s in the row, but he then has this big spike score like he did in the weekend to sort of discount that or yeah counteract that. So I still think he's a top end forward. His role definitely hasn't changed from what we wanted to buy in the preseason. So I wouldn't be against buying him right now, but I think I don't know. I'm just really hesitant buying a forward because forwards are really hard to sort of judge at this time. But I'm confident he'll definitely be top 6.
Yeah, I do really like the Cosy Pickett pick as well. I'm pretty confident he will be a top 6 as well in his current role. I just don't see them moving him out of there with how he was playing towards the back end of last year and how he started this year. So, yeah, he's definitely a good option. And the last one I want to flirt to you here, Das, is Colby McKercher. Looks like he went back to half back last week. We were going to buy him at this price, 450k, before we heard he was going to start in the midfield. Now he's gone half back. Are you just not buying Colby McKercher stocks?
Yeah, I'm so keen on it. I want him bad. But I think you made a really good point on our review podcast a couple of days ago. It was just like I'd just rather pay the 50, 60 extra K just to be certain of the role and the output. Um, we weren't buying him in the preseason at this price with Luke Parker dominating and with Blamiers down there as well. Like, there's extra cogs in that system now, whereas like we weren't sure of that. So yeah, I just want to make sure the role's still there, and that the scoring potential is still there. And if that means he's 60k more expensive in 3 or 4 weeks' time, I'm okay with that. I still think it'll be good buying at 500k, and I'd rather pay the 60k than just to be sure of the pick rather than take the risk now.
Yeah, I'm even happy to buy him next week if I see a full defense game next week against Carlton, which if he drops a 120, he'll be, still 470k. So
Yep.
I'm happy to spend that on McKercher to know that he has that role, and I think he's genuinely a top 8 defender with the role. So
Yep.
yeah, he's just a great scorer back down there. So yeah, I think we're both a weight on McKercher, and just make sure you're buying that role because he could easily be moved around, especially with Hardiman coming back as well. They like him in defence as well. Could that mean McKercher gets moved into the midfield because that's his future role? I don't know. We'll see how North shape up this week if Hardiman's coming back in, or how McKercher shapes up in their side. I just want to quickly run over a few DPPs here, Das. DPPs come in after round 5, so we've still got 2 more rounds. They could change a fair bit, but there's a few guys that are almost guaranteed to get some positions. So I'm just going to rattle through a few that are pretty SuperCoach relevant, and we'll start with the one that could change everyone's side. In Took Miller, almost guaranteed forward status. Maybe with the injuries that Gold Coast have, they might need to throw him through the midfield, but I think you sent me something today that he has played 95% midfield time to not get forward status over the next 2 games. So, definitely keep an eye on Took Miller there. He is at a pretty expensive price, but keep an eye on him. Dyson Sharp, if you have him, he just needs to play 1 more game and he'll get forward status. Your standard Flanders, Dev Robertson, Jai Sarong, Josh Rochelle, Sam Lawler, that are all playing midfield time will get midfield status. Tom Blamirez, a popular rookie, will get defensive status, almost guaranteed as well, unless he gets thrown on the wing from here on out. Very interesting one here, Das, is Jason Horne-Francis. He is actually a chance of getting forward status. I think with the injury to Rosie, it almost might not happen. But if Wines comes
Yeah.
back into the side, maybe Bergman going through the midfield, they might keep Horne-Francis forward. So I wouldn't be jumping on Horne-Francis early. But if he's a forward status, I like the pick.
Yeah, it'll be huge if he gets forward status. I think I remember the stat was like he was 55% forward last week, and now it's dropped to 44 or something like that. So pretty significant drop. 35% is the line. So if he plays the same amount of midfield time that he played last week and the week after, then it's probably going to be out of sight, which is unfortunate because we would love an extra forward that we can depend on down there. Blackstone will get ruck status, Tice. Obviously, been playing as that number one ruck. Stephen Canelio might get forward status for those who are holding on to him, hoping for maybe a little bit of DVP and hoping he can flick his scoring up a little bit. But if you haven't jumped off his bye this week, Luke Parker, who started the year on fire, as we mentioned, will get defensive status, playing 96% of the start of the year as a defender. Jack Carroll, also a popular rookie option, will get defensive status, playing halfback for the Saints. Bodorek will be a forward defender, which is massive. I really like that DPP swing. I think it's really underrated. And then Chad Warner has played a bit of forward, transitioned a little bit more to that midfield role since Gordon's gone down. You probably need to play a little bit more forward to get the DPP, but it's definitely one to watch, Tice. They're the main guys who we need to keep an eye on, and hopefully, we'd be slotting Took Miller into our forward lines in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, that's big news there. But we'll jump into the games ahead, Tice, and we'll breeze through these. We are recording on a Wednesday night, so we've only got Thursday night teams. We've got a couple of maybe rumored changes and whatnot that we'll touch on, but some captain options for each game as well. That Tice will run you through any relevant stats that might be needed to help your captain options. After that, we'll get into our Q&A as well. So we've got a few questions from you guys that we'll like to answer if we haven't already. So tomorrow night's game between Brisbane and Collingwood. In terms of the teams, the biggest news is no ZZ did not get named. Derek Joyce, who's 119k defender, has come in his place, which is disappointing. Sort of just wanted that one price rise from him, so it doesn't look like we'll get that. Collingwood named Will Hayes, is 190k forward, but small forward, light frame. I don't think he's going to be on anyone's radar. What about captain's ties? Could you VC a Neil or a Dacos?
Yeah, I like both options. No McCluggage in this game, which means Neil will just be racking up the possessions. Collingwood have run Perryman to do a couple of tagging roles like they did with Callahan a little bit last week, but I don't see it happening with Neil here. And he loves playing against the Pies, 126 average in his last four. Nick Dacos, though, hasn't dropped below 110 in his last seven against Brisbane. Has only played the Gabba in his midfield role only once and dropped 172 in doing so. That was last year. So I do really like the VC on Nick Dacos here. The last one I might quickly touch on is Dane Zorko. Collingwood have given up a lot of big scores to halfbacks this year. So you got Whitfield 126, Ash 106, Wayne Malera got that 142, and Sinclair 143. So it looks like the designated kickers are getting a lot of points here. So I really do like the Zorko matchup. Let's move to Friday night here. Friday day. The Good Friday game, which is good to have. North Melbourne v Carlton. Probably only really one captain option since Tristan Cherry's gone down, because Sam Walsh is going to get that Finn O'Sullivan tag. We believe he's been shutting down a few guys this year, so it's probably easy to avoid Walsh. But Harry Sheezel, Carlton mids aren't super accountable this year, and loves Marvel, like 145 and 134 at Marvel this year. Carlton just let mids run free. I think this could be a very good VC option, and a lot of people might not look at the Sheezel camp.
Yeah, I'm definitely considering a Sheezel VC. I'm a little bit worried for maybe a Berry running with Dacos, so I think I might just run with the shoes. But I think we were worried about a tag on Dacos last year, and he's got 172. So yeah, I don't think it's Nick Dacos at the end of the day. Moving to Friday night's game, Tice. Biggest team news out of this one is pretty much rumours are that Rob's playing, right? Riley O'Brien's playing, which means he'll share the ruck duties with Lachlan McAndrew. So it sucks for people running McAndrew at R2, but I wouldn't trade him out yet. See how that sort of split works, and we can deal with that next week. We've got probably bigger fish to fry now. What about captains, Tice? Anyone here? You mentioned that Adelaide do leak points to midfielders. Anyone you can target?
Yeah, definitely Brayshaw and Sarong in this game. Brayshaw especially loves playing Adelaide. But yeah, like we were saying before, they have given up a lot of points to midfields this year with Bont 141, Libba 105, Bailey Smith 172 last week with Max Holmes 121 in the same game, and Dacos a 126 as just the scores this year. So you could go with Brayshaw or Sarong. Brayshaw prefers this matchup over Sarong if we're just looking at recent form. So I do love the Brayshaw pick this week, even though he might give you some rollercoaster scores there, Das. I do love that VC. Jordan Dawson is also someone else, but he's returning from injury. So never really like to trust my captaincy on a guy that's returning from injury unless your name's the Bond. So that's probably it from this game. Let's go to the Saturday game. Saturday games. There's only two games this week on Saturday due to the Good Friday clashes. And we'll start with Richmond v Port. There's probably only one guy here since Connor Rozee has gone down. It's Zach Butters. Only got 89 in the last game against Richmond, but 175 and 158 before that. Richmond aren't tagging. There's no Rozee to take points off him. And he loves playing at the MCG. 131, 127, 175 in his last three. This could be the biggest lock this week. So I do love the Butters pick, and he might feature in my captains this week. And then Eagles and Swans Saturday night at Optus Stadium. There's probably also only one option here. Like, I do like Heaney, but he's not very highly owned and coming back from injury, so it kind of contradicts what I was saying before. But it's Grundy. He's going up against Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn is not good, really. That's probably just the end of it. Like, he's not good. Grundy did only score 104 against Flynn last year, but this year Flynn has given up some big scores. Cherry got a 199. Jordan Sweet went 94, which still is pretty good for his sort of going, and was looking to go super large until the Eagles came back and won that game. So, yeah, that was going to be a big score there. And then Jared Witt's got a 137 in round one as well. So, some big scores. I do love the Grundy VC or C option if you're, going into Sunday with a better captain in mind.
Yeah, it's hard not to VC him or see him. It's just the easiest matchup for a ruckman is the Eagles. Sunday's games, Melbourne and Gold Coast. Anderson's a big one here, Tice. Thelstrip has been used as a tag throughout the year, so I think it's one just avoid. If he goes to anyone, expect him to go to Anderson. Might line up on Rowell if he's playing, but you wouldn't want to risk that with your captain or your vice captain. Gawn's the interesting one. He started the year really, really well. He loves playing at the MCG, but he doesn't like playing against Wits. It's sort of been his kryptonite in terms of SuperCoach scoring. Just 90, 88, and 97 in his last three. Hope he can, sort of back that up. I mean, sort of live from that a little bit, but he's not someone that I'd be super keen on captaining or vice captaining for that matter. I think there's better options, that we've already mentioned that we're going to mention as well in this next game as well. So I think you could look elsewhere. Speaking of looking elsewhere, this is probably the game where people will target. I think there'll be a lot of captains this year playing against Essendon. So you've got the Doggies and Essendon on Sunday night. Need we say more than Bont, Tice? It's just a lock.
Yeah, 168 and 140 in his last two against Essendon. And do we need to go on about his Marvel love? He just absolutely loves playing at Marvel. I think this just screams a straight captain score. You'd have to take a huge VC score to be away from the Bont. And just talking about the last 2 weeks in terms of midfielders here, Das, against Essendon. Sheasel 145, Foss 142, LDU 124, Horn Francis 147, and Butters 135. That's just the last 2 weeks alone. So there's some huge scores against the Bombers there. If you don't have the Bont and you've got Ed Richards, this could easily be a nice captain on Ed Richards as well. Doesn't have as good of a Marvel run and the record against Essendon as the Bont because he's the Bont. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory there. But you could target the ruckman in Tim English, 88, 122, and 58 in his last three versus Essendon. So they're not great, but Blackstone has given up some scores this year with Reeves 104, Jordan Sweet 121, but Cherry only got the 69 last week. So it's probably one that you could stray away from just based on the Cherry one last week. Might be easiest there. And then in terms of the final game of the round in Hawthorn and the Cats on Easter Monday, Bailey Smith, only an average of 79 in his last three versus the Hawks, but has a good record at the G. So, yeah, might be easiest to avoid this one. I mean, the Hawks midfield are pretty easy to go up against, so you could just back in the fact that they're not too accountable, but it's probably not safe enough for me, and you've got a great captaincy options on the Sunday night. Max Holmes is the other one as well. Also doesn't have a great average against the Hawks in the last three. 3 out of the 5 games at the G last year he went sub-ton, and then the 2 tons were against Essendon and Richmond. So might be just easiest to avoid those two. That wraps up the captains there, Das. We're going to do a full write-up on our socials, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Might be some more information on those guys. But let's get into some questions here. We'll start it off with Scott. I'm going to float this one to you here, Das. Graham Myers, could he just be an option?
He could be. He showed last year that he has really good consistency about his game. And when he does get those, sprinkle of midfield minutes, he can score really well. I don't think it's time to go there yet. I think there's better options. He's sort of one of those guys that you use to complete your forward line as maybe that left field option. I don't think we're desperate enough to go there now. We've got rookies who can cover us in the forward line. We've got those mid prices in, Butterick, Lawler, Flanders, those sort of guys. If you've got them, I wouldn't be going to Myers just yet. If you're looking around that price, I'd probably rather a Cozzy. So, he will be in our calculations, but I don't think I'm comfortable enough to go just yet. Ty's from Fresco Cleaning, does a pretty good job in the gutters, I can see from his Instagram. He wants to know what to do with Windsor and Blackstone. So we sort of touched on Blackstone, not Windsor as much, but both sort of in that category of the failed bid prices. Just the Windsor role is there, plays a little bit of wing time, but he's just struggling to score. Could you sideways them both to say, a Lukosius and a Finn O'Sullivan potentially, someone who's went huge last week? Or do you think you just go one up, one down? Just stop playing games in the mid prices, go down to a Josh Lindsay if you don't have him, and then look at one of the big dogs.
Yeah, I think you just got to jump off the mid prices now. They're just not working this year. The only other one I'd probably be keeping would be Tanner Bruin. I'd almost be inclined to punt everyone else. So, yeah, you're going one up, one down. You're probably not jumping to another mid-pricer. Lukosius, I'd argue, is probably that rookie price, just, top-end rookie price, maybe very low mid-price. That is got the scores in his system to jump up that cash. So that's why I liked the Lukosius pick. If it was the other way around and Windsor's started the year off with, 2 90s or a 90 and 100, I'd be looking at Windsor as a great option. So obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. But yeah, I think you just jump off Windsor and Blackstone now. They just haven't started well and they're not going to help your cash generation, which you need to get right early on.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think it's the time to get the teams right and fix up where we can. Daniel wants to know, when should we get tracks? We've sort of touched on that. He's 1 to 3 weeks away now. I think we're both sort of in the boat that let's just wait and see when he comes back, see what he's like, see what the midfield mix is like with with Rail in there. If Humphrey's back from suspension, then like to see you get a run in there. Where does Tukumila sit? Let's wait a little bit. Also remember, like they started the year with a really nice run, and those big scores were against really bad teams, or it was West Coast and Richmond and those sort of guys. When he comes back, he's going to be up against a little bit harder opponent. So let's just wait and see with Track. Like we mentioned, he'll still be a top 6 forward, but let's just find the right time to buy him. Couple questions from Alyssa here, Tice. I'll start with one, and I'll hit you with both of them. But is Cal Mills a pick? He's someone who's heavily on my radar in the preseason, and I can't say he's not on my radar this week as well in terms of a defensive upgrade with a lot of the top 4 defenders on a bye this week. Could he be the guy you go to?
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely going to be around that top 10 mark for sure, if not within the top 10. We know his talent and how well he can score, especially being the Sydney captain there. The only thing that might be scaring me off a little bit is what they maybe do with the side, with the injuries that they've had. It sort of showed with, obviously, Goulden went down, but with Heaney being out for a week, that he was still that general down back. And I really, really like that role. He's got West Coast this week, so he could go large. But he's not produced that super ceiling score that we need to quickly jump on him before he jumps up in cash too much. So you could easily wait another week or two. But if you're very sold on Mills, there's no harm in jumping on him now. He's definitely a point of difference with less than 1% ownership too. So he's one I'm going to target at some point.
Yeah, I really like it. I also like Nick Blakey for what it's worth. His teammate, I think he's 10k more expensive than Mills, but I like them both. We mentioned Nick Blakey since the start of last year has averaged 110 with Cal Mills in the side, so there's huge upside there, and I think that's a good option too. Alyssa also asks, "Is Lukoshis? Would you go down from Sherry to Lukoshis for cash gen?" I don't hate it, but you need like that. That would be if you're already rucking a 3 ruck setup. Like, say you've got English at R1 now, you'd have McAnder at R2, and then you could have Sherry in the flex and go down there. I wouldn't want to be rucking 2 rookie rucks, or like you still need a primo ruck. So I think we sort of touched on that. But if you do have that primo ruck already, and you want to bank some cash and then go for the cash generation, I do like the Lukoshis pick.
Yeah, and if you're going down from Cherry to Lukoshis and then not spending that cash, you're kind of just wasting the points away in your bank as well. The only time I'd almost agree to do that is if it's during the mid-season where there's a few people on their buy in that first buy that you're just set on finishing your team with, or if a Bont is on the buy like last week. I was definitely happy with people, banking that cash if you're so set on grabbing the Bont after his buy. This is probably the only time I'd be leaving that 440k price difference. But if you're going Cherry down to Lukoshis and spending that cash elsewhere to upgrade, a parish or something like that, I do love that. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be a good option for us.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Clary wants to know, Tice, if North win, is Voss gone? So not a SuperCoach question, but what do you reckon? Is it time for Voss to go?
I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of heat coming onto Voss at the moment, but all the players are trying to take it off him and say it's a group effort. So I think they will punt him, and I just don't know if it'll be this week. It'll be at some point this year, though.
Yeah, it'll be soon. I think it'll be soon, and I think they'll lose tomorrow or Friday, and then the writing will be on the wall for poor old Vossi. Muzza wants to know, do you go Bont this week or split the cash into 2 primos? We sort of did touch on this as well. I think we're both in the boat to split the cash. Just sort of sticking with our guns is what we did to start the year, and just hope that we can pick up Bont at a nicer price. And see if you can trust yourself and back yourself in to use that cash to better your team elsewhere. So that's sort of how we both sit at this stage, but definitely can't knock anyone if you did want to just go ahead and grab Bont, because it is Bont at the end of the day, and it's going to be a hard week without him. Brendan Tice wants to know, here's 600k for mid. Would you go Heaney this week? Wait next week, get Callahan, who we both love Callahan and Heaney, or is there someone else you would go to?
Wow. That's
This is a tough question.
Yeah, I love the Callahan pick. Yeah, if he wasn't on the bye this week, I think he'd be in my team this week. I don't want to be buying Callahan just to have him not play this week as well. Heaney hasn't started the year on fire, so he's not going to kill you in terms of the being out of reach. He's got 163 break even. Yes, it's against West Coast, but they could easily ease him in back into the game just because it is against West Coast. So maybe it's not the week to go Heaney. A few other options. You've got Caleb Sarong there if you don't have Sarong. Merritt seems to just get it done, even though he's in a bad side. Got tagged last week, so that's the only reason on that bad score. Andy Brayshaw's definitely there at 572k.
Do it to
Can't
yourself.
knock you. I can't. I can't knock you going Heaney at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you've got 600k, I would. I mean, probably a bit of bias here, but I really like Max Holmes. He's slightly over 600k, but like you said with Heaney, hasn't had a huge start to the year, and coming back from injury, like can we pick him up for 550k? I think you probably could. Callahan, yeah, like you said, I don't want to buy him this week as much as I would love. He'd be the guy. I think his price is like so tempting. He's at 575k, so it's a really good price. Um, yeah,
I don't. Sorry, I'd almost say that. Who else do you have to trade next week as well? If you don't, if you're punting a Parrish and a Blackston this week, and you don't have someone of that ilk that you see getting punted next week in terms of their price, you almost need to bank the cash and make sure you can get Callahan next week because he is going to go up. He's got some good scores in his systems. I think it was back-to-back 120s, so his break-even will be quite low because I think it glitches
130.
around a bit with the buy. Sorry, he had the 86 the week before. So he's not going to get out of reach too quickly. But yeah, it's just making sure you have the money to free up for next week to get Callahan as well. The rookies that you have are still generating cash, so they're not right at their peak to get rid of. So just look at it from that sense. Maybe just bank some cash to go to Callahan next week, and maybe not grab anyone and grab two premiums next week.
Nice. So you're saying go Callahan next week. I'm saying go Holmes if you've got the extra 3k on top of the 600k.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Tyson asked what to do with Blackston DP3 Darcy Parish. Yeah, I think we touched on this as well. Yeah, move them on. They're both failed mid prices at this stage. If you have to hold one of them just for structure reasons, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, they will be moved on shortly. And then final question, Tice, to sum up the pod is Tim wants to know what forwards do you have confidence with and are worth the ride? I think it's a really good question and probably
That's a great question.
you know, if you've listened to the end, we've hit you with a big one at the end. But there's a couple. I mean, Cozzy, I think, is probably at the top of the list. I think I'm confident that he's going to be a top liner just with his role. I think he will be there. Couple guys, Tice, Justin McInerney, thoughts on him? I don't know
I
why. I've just got
do.
this feeling about him.
Yeah, I do like it. I think he might lose that midfield role though with Heaney coming back. So I wouldn't be banking on him being a huge
He
scorer, but
still
he'll
had
be
he
there or
still had
thereabouts.
CBAs in the first half when Henny was like when he played in that game with good. Like he was still playing midfield minutes. I don't know. I still think he'll get there. Cozzy definitely tops it for me. On this, Tice, say you had the cash, and I've flirted with this, but could you just go with Took Miller? Could you go like you don't know who to get? I know he doesn't have 4 DBP now, and it probably doesn't help Tim in this question, but you're picking up a top liner, a guy who's going to be top 2, top 3 in his line. Could you just do it?
Yeah, you
Because
could, but
it's just a
there's
guy that you
not the
need to finish your team.
100% guarantee that he has it. I know it's super unlikely that he doesn't get it, but there's not the 100% guarantee he gets it. And then you're picking up someone who's playing midfield for a few weeks until Raul and Petrarca are both back, and then he's just going to sit up forward and you have to wait till round 12 to get that DPP. I'd almost just wait another week in terms of being confident on Took Miller forward status. We'll get more next week. So he's definitely one up there. I do really like Zach Bailey. I am
Yeah, you
so
do like
hot
Zach
on
Bailey.
this I'm so hot on this contract year going through. He wants to put the money in there. Tore it up last week in that midfield role, and they probably just need to keep him in there. So I see Zach Bailey as being one of those guys that's a real top liner. Sam Flanders, you can just hold around for ages. He's main midfield stay, so he's good to have. But yeah, Cozzy Pickett, Ryan Myers, Rankin, I think will drop heaps in cash based on his start, but will come good. So you'll be able to pick him up for that 450k when he's building back into that midfield role that we know he's going to get at some point. So I really do like holding out for Rankin as well.
Okay. So one last question to end the pod. Now we're speaking about forwards. It's been a long episode, but one last forward, bit of a left field one that people are going to. Tim Kelly, any interest? 400k, looked really good, back to his best last week. Could he be the guy? Could he push top 8 forwards and buy him now at 400k, or you just don't have the confidence? No Yo,
I don't.
no. I mean,
I,
like Yo's out for a long time. Dev Robinson just the 1 week, but could you do it?
Yeah, I don't hate it, but the fact he was playing North and Port Adelaide to drop a 90 and a 119, he's not going to have those matchups for a while. So, he faces those two and Essendon as well between round 12 and 14. So maybe that's the time to grab him. But is he still playing midfield by then? I'm not sure. We saw him last year get moved around a lot and sit up forward. That's why he's got that forward status. So I can't pick him with full confidence, especially with Sydney, Geelong, and Freo coming up.
Fair enough. Bit of a left field one for you. But yeah, I think to answer your question, Tim, Cozzy Pickett, we both like. Zach Bailey's up there. Justin McInerney, maybe watch for 1 more, 2 more weeks, but I think we both like the role there as well, and he's got a good ceiling. But there are a few guys. I like Sam Darcy as well, for what it's worth. I think he'll bounce back at some stage, and he's got a high ceiling too. But that sums up the podcast. Extra long one for you guys to head into the weekend. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, like the episode, leave a comment, let us know that you're enjoying the content. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But until next time, best of luck for the weekend. Oh, Tice, do you have a rocket? Sorry.
The rocket. Have to put the rocket up someone here, Das.
Couldn't forget about it. I'll do a quick one. I'm just doing the rocket up Lockie Neal. Quick one. Lockie Neal.
All right. That's good. I like that. Mine's going up Houston. I need him to bounce back. I traded him in last week. I need to get him now.
Very good. Awesome. Well, that again, thanks everyone. And we'll speak to you next time. Best of luck this weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks, Das.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, mate.